Season 2 is finally here, which means I'm going to be showing you guys my top 5 favorite class setups to use for Season 2 in Modern Warfare 2. This is going to consist of 2 assault rifles, 2 SMGs, and 1 battle rifle. I know with Season 2 there's been a ton of weapon changes, so this video is going to be basically going over my favorite class setups to use in Season 2. If you guys find this video helpful in any way, shape, or form and want to see more Modern Warfare 2 content just like this, make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Let's go ahead and get into the top 5 class setups to use for Season 2 of Modern Warfare 2. For the first class setup for the video, we have to go over the ISO Hemlock assault rifle. This is the brand new assault rifle that was added for Season 2, and this thing with the right attachments, honestly, I'm a really big fan of it. It feels just like the Scar H if you guys are a fan of that weapon. So let's go ahead and get into the attachments. First attachment is the muzzle, the RF Crown 50 muzzle for the horizontal and vertical recoil control. It's just basically going to help with the recoil on this weapon. I did test it. Recoil on this gun without any attachments is a little bad, so having this muzzle is going to help out tremendously. And of course, tuning for that, we give it a little bit of gun kick control and a little bit of recoil stabilization. Next up, I think, is the bread and butter for this assault rifle. You don't really need this much crazy damage range, but on bigger maps and on the museum map, this attachment is very helpful. It's the Fielder T50 barrel for the damage range, bolt velocity, hip fire accuracy, and recoil control. It's basically going to just, again, max out the damage range and bolt velocity for this weapon. You can tune this attachment. However, I just left it the exact same. If you want to tune it for having, having more damage range or bolt velocity or whatever, you guys can do that. Next up is the optic, the Cronin Mini Pro. This is personal preference. It's just the blue dot optic. I think optic is a must for this weapon. I'm not really a big fan of the iron sights on this gun, so I went with the Cronin Mini Pro. I didn't tune this, so you guys can tune it if you want to. Arcom S4 stock is what we use for the stock for the sprint speed, aim walk-in speed, crouch movement speed, and aim down sight speed. It's going to make this gun feel a little bit lighter and not super sluggish moving around the map or whatever. Tuning for that, we give it a little bit of aim walk-in speed and a little bit of aim down sight speed. Last and final attachment is the FTAC River 56 underbarrel for the aiming idle stability, hipfire accuracy, and recoil stabilization. It's going to give us the max recoil stabilization for this weapon. And of course, tuning for that, we give it a little bit of aiming idle stability and a little bit of recoil stabilization. And that right there is the best ISO Hemlock class setup to use in Modern Warfare 2 Season 2. Let's go ahead and get into the second class setup. For the next class setup, we're going to be going over the M13B. This was actually buffed in the Season 2 update, so I think it's just necessary to go over this weapon for this video. First attachment is the barrel, the 14-inch Bruin Echelon barrel for the damage range, bolt velocity, hipfire accuracy, and recoil control. I just think with this weapon, you definitely need all 4 of those things, especially recoil control with how fast the fire rate is on this weapon. Tuning for that, we maxed out the damage range and give it a little bit of recoil steadiness there to help with that. Next up is the stock, the Bruin Flash V4 stock for the sprint speed, aim walk-in speed, crouch movement speed, and aim down sight speed. You can't tune this attachment, so I just left it the exact same and just how it is. Next up for the rear grip is the D37 grip for the recoil control. It's just basically going to help again with just recoil control. This weapon has pretty fast fire rate, so this attachment is going to be very helpful. Tuning for that, we give it a little bit of aiming idle stability and a little bit of recoil steadiness. Next up is the 45 round mag. Again, the fire rate on this weapon is pretty fast, so having this is going to be very helpful so you don't have to reload all the time. If you think the 30 round mag is okay, you could probably go with an optic if you want to, but I went with 45 round mag and I think it works out pretty good. Last and final attachment is the FTAC grip underbarrel for the aiming idle stability, hipfire accuracy, and recoil stabilization. This is going to give this gun the max amount of recoil stabilization that you'll need for this weapon. And of course, the tuning for it is going to be a little bit of aiming idle stability and a little bit of recoil stabilization. And that right there is the best M13B class setup to use for Season 2 of Modern Warfare 2. This weapon recently got buffed. You might want to try it. Let's go ahead and get into the third class setup. Third class setup, we're going to be going over the Lockman sub. Reason why is because this thing didn't even get touched for Season 2. They left it the exact same, which means it makes it one of the best SMGs to use in the game currently. So let's go ahead and get into the best Lockman sub class setup for Season 2. First up is going to be the barrel, the FTAC M sub 12-inch barrel for the bolt velocity, damage range, recoil control, and hipfire accuracy. Tuning for that, we gave it a little bit of damage range and a little bit of recoil steadiness. Next up is the laser, the VLK LZR7 MW laser. I like rocking this on SMGs because it makes this gun feel a lot lighter and have a faster ADS time. What's new with Season 2 is you can now actually tune lasers, which I think is pretty cool. You can either tune it for aiming idle stability, aim down sight speed, sprint and fire speed, or aim walk-in steadiness. What I would do if you do want to tune it is I would tune it to have a little bit of aiming down sight speed and give it some sprint to fire speed, so it just feels even faster than what it should be. Next up is the LM Stockless mod stock for the aim down sight speed, sprint to fire speed, movement speed, and hip recoil control. I just like the way this thing looks on the Lockman sub. It makes it feel like the OG MP5 from Modern Warfare 2019, and also it does help with the ADS time and everything right there, so it's going to be very, very fast for this gun. This attachment has no tuning, so just leave it how it is. Next up is going to be a little different. This is the Lockman TCG 10 rear grip for the recoil control. However, we didn't tune it for recoil control. We actually tuned it to have more sprint and fire speed and a little bit of aim down sight speed. You also still get the benefit of recoil control. I did test this, so I would just say mess around with it. If you honestly like the other rear grip or want to try another attachment attachment, go ahead and do that. But this is what I use, and I think it feels really good on this gun. Last and final attachment is the 40 round mag. This thing has a pretty fast fire rate for it being an MP5 or the Lockman sub. So having the 40 round mag, it makes it very helpful. 50 round make this gun a little bit slow, so I probably would recommend going with the 50 round mag. Just stick with the 40. Now right there is the best Lockman subclass setup for season 2 of Modern Warfare 2. Let's go ahead and get into the fourth class setup. Fourth class setup, we're going to be going over the mini box. So they actually did nerf this for season 2. They nerfed it in a bunch of different ways. However, I was testing it out in the firing range, and I honestly think it feels better. I'm not even gonna lie, that's not even cap or anything. I think it feels a lot better than what it did for season 1 Reloaded or season 1 or whatever. So let's go over the mini Bach class setup. First attachment I think is a must with this gun. It is the Bach 9 279mm barrel for the damage range, hipfire accuracy, and bullet velocity. This is actually the only barrel option for this weapon, so honestly throw it on. It's gonna make this gun feel so much better. Tuning for it, we maxed out the damage range and give it a little bit of recoil steadiness. Next up is the laser, the FSS OLEV laser for the aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. We didn't tune this, but again, you can tune this if you guys want to for aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed if you think it needs that. Ultrazat stock is the stock we went with for the aim walking speed and sprint speed. Tuning for that, we gave it just a little bit of aim walking speed. You can probably tune this up a little bit more if you want to, and gave it a little bit of aim down sight speed. Next up is the True Tac grip for the rear grip for the sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed. If you guys think you need a little bit more recoil control, and also if you do tune the laser to have more sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed, I'd recommend going with the Demo X2 grip if you guys want to. Tuning for that, we gave it a little bit of sprint to fire speed and a little bit of aim down sight speed. Last and final attachment is the mini Bach grip mag magazine for the aiming angle stability and the recoil stabilization, just to help with that. Now right there is the mini Bach class setup for season 2 of Modern Warfare 2. Let's go ahead and get into the fifth and final class setup. Last and final class setup is the FTAC Recon. I know you guys like using other weapons besides SMGs and assault rifles, and they actually buffed this for season 2, so I figured why not, let's go over the FTAC Recon. Going over the first attachment is the 419mm EXF barrel for the damage range, hipfire accuracy, and bullet velocity. It's going to basically max out all those things on the pros, and it's going to make this gun feel super good and basically give it a 2-shot. Tuning for that, we gave it a little bit of damage range and a little bit of recoil steadiness. Next up is the laser, the FSS OLEV laser for the aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. We didn't tune this, but you guys can tune it for aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed if you guys think it needs it. Next up, we did use an optic, the Cronin Mini Pro. I just think with this weapon being a semi-auto, having an optic to aim better on enemies is going to be very helpful. You guys can use whatever optic you want, but I think the Cronin Mini Pro is probably the best option for it. With this thing only having 10 rounds in magazine, I think having the 15 round mag is going to be very helpful, so we did throw in the 15 round magazine. And the last and final attachment is the Edge 47 grip for the aiming auto stability and recoil stabilization, just so it helps with that recoil, because this gun is a semi-auto. It's going to have a decent amount of recoil, so throwing this on is going to be very helpful. And of course, tuning for that, we gave it a little bit of aiming auto stability and a little bit of recoil stabilization, and that right there is the fifth and final class setup, the FTAC Recon class setup for season 2 of Modern Warfare 2. If you guys use any of these class setups in the video, make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more Modern Warfare 2 content and class setups, and I'll catch y'all later. Take care, everybody.